Bonjour, welcome to Wahsa Distance Education Center's radio Zoom classes. This is MEL3E, grade 11 workplace math, and I'm the teacher, Bronwyn Slate. If you'd like to participate live today, you can call the Wahsa studio at 1-800-465-7144 or 737-4017. You can listen on the radio at 91.9 FM and on the television at Bell Express View channel 972. You're always welcome to join me live through the Zoom link, which is available from me, your teacher, and also your DEC. Our classes are scheduled Monday through Thursday from 9 till 10 in the morning, and we are in our 7th week of our 9-week course. You need to be submitting work at this point to stay on track. A reminder that the support questions, the ones with the pencil icon, are not for grading. These are just practice problems that support you in your learning. So you decide which ones and how many to do. If you are understanding a concept, feel free to skip questions. You, again, know what is best for yourself. However, if you do need more practice, please ask, and I'm happy to send you more practice. The key questions, the ones with the key icon, are the questions to submit for marking. So please do all of them. Show all your work, your steps, and your thinking. This way I can give you the most credit for your understanding and really help you. If you're making mistakes, then I can understand where you're making mistakes, and I can give you part marks for what you do understand. So how do you actually submit your work for marking? Well, there's 3 methods. The first method is to scan your work and send it electronically. So you can scan your completed work through a device. If you have an Apple device, the Notes app that comes with your Apple device has a scan function. And if you have an Android device, the Google Drive app has a scan function. There are tech tutorial videos to how to scan for both these devices on my YouTube channel. So go check that out if you're not sure how to do this. It's fairly straightforward. If you need to send pictures because you don't have access to these devices and you just can't, then that is fine. Scanning just makes the file smaller and a little bit easier to send. So it just makes it a little bit more manageable, but we can totally handle having pictures. Then send it either by email to studentwork@nnec.on.ca and CC it to bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca. Or you can also send it to me through Facebook Messenger, where my name is B Slate Wahsa. The second method is to drop your work off in Sioux Lookout. We have an outdoor mailbox at our 74 Front Street location. We are the bright red building next to the post office, and we have a small white mailbox next to our side entrance. We're not yet open to the public, so just put your work in there and we'll get it back to you as soon as we can. The third method is to hand your work into your DEC. Your DEC can either send your work through the Express or fax it to 807-737-1732 or toll-free fax to 1-800-463-7852. Students are also welcome to fax their work in if that is what works best for them. If you'd like to connect with me through social media, both my Facebook and my YouTube channel under the name B Slate Wahsa. If you friend me on Facebook or subscribe to my YouTube channel, you'll get notifications every time I upload one of our videos. All of our radio Zoom classes are recorded and I post them to YouTube shortly after broadcasting. It's a really easy way to access all of the materials for our class and slow things down, pause them, take breaks if you need to. It also gives you the full experience. Also on the channel, I have short videos explaining common errors and confusing concepts. So this is a good place to go if you are struggling with concepts in our course. I might have addressed it specifically in just a short video that might really help you. Also, as I said before, I have tech tutorials on there in case there's anything that might be useful, just technology based that isn't course related, but that might help you with the functionality of the course. Math is a really visual subject, so I strongly encourage you to access these videos, either joining me live through Zoom or going to the replays on YouTube. Just listening to the audio will not give you as much knowledge as getting the visuals, listening to the audio, and reading the booklets. Yes, will give you what you need, but it might not tap into your learning style. So watching the video means that you'll get visuals and you'll get the most information, set you up for the most success. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out and contact me. My email address is bronwyn.slate, and that's spelled BRONWYN.SLATE at nnec.on.ca. My Facebook is bslate-wahsa. You can call me at the office at 807-737-1488, and my extension is 2209. You can also call toll free at 1-800-667-3703. My office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., although I teach from 9 till 11 in the morning, so that's not a great time to get a hold of me. If you'd like to connect outside of those hours, let me know and we can try to arrange something that works for both of us. All right, so today's lesson is lesson 16. We are starting unit 4, our last unit, and we're talking about vehicle costs today. So our learning goals are that at the end of today's lesson, you will be able to identify and describe the costs of having a vehicle, and you will understand the fuel consumption costs. You know that you've met these learning goals because you know the various costs involving in owning a vehicle, and you can actually calculate the fuel consumption and gas costs. So when we'll use this in real life? Well, we're strengthening our comfort with numbers. Not only are we learning about vehicle costs, as most of us or many of us will have to use a vehicle at some point, and understanding that is really useful, but just being comfortable with numbers and how they interact in our world is really, really beneficial to feeling successful and confident in our daily lives. But first, let's activate our brain with some mental math. I am not a fan or supporter of Mad Math Minutes. They stress folks out, they stress students out, they don't teach skills, they emphasize the importance of speed and memorization over deep understanding and methodical thought. So I really don't encourage these. Instead, in our class, we focus on developing strategies that we can use in various situations that help strengthen our comfort with numbers and our confidence in our abilities. So today's question is 64 times 45, and we're using the concept, the strategy of doubling and halving. So how this works is that when you're multiplying, you can double one of your factors, one of your numbers, and you can have the other number in order to maybe make numbers that are easier for you to multiply. So this can be a really useful tool to just make your numbers friendlier. So for this one, I have 64 and 45. Well, 45 is an odd number. So if I cut it in half, I'm going to end up with a decimal, and that is not going to make my life easier. But if I double it, then I'm going to end up with 90. It's a number that I know. And I can just, so 45 times 2 is 90. So that means that I'm going to do 64 divided by 2, because I have to cut one of my numbers in half and double the other number. So 64 divided by 2 is 32. Again, these are fairly easy numbers for me to cut and double. So I'm going to do this again. I'm going to divide 32 by 2. Of course, I want to do the same. So that's 16. I want to divide on the same series of numbers, because if I double that, I'm just going to end up where I was before. So then I'm going to double 90, which is 180. So 16 times 180 is not friendly. I don't know what that is. So I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to cut 16 in half, which is 8. And 180, I'm going to double. And these are getting to be numbers that aren't necessarily super friendly, but 18, I know if I double 18, that's 36. So if I double 180, that's going to be 360. So again, 360 times 8, I still don't know that. So I'm going to continue to double in half. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. And 36 doubled is going to be 720. So I'm going to do it one more time. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And 720 times 2 is going to be, well, 7 times 2 is 14. So 700 times 2 is going to be 1,400. And 20 times 2 is going to be 40. So now I have 2 times 1,440. And that I can do is 2,880. So that means that 64 times 45 is also 2,880. And that I was able to get it so that I had a combination of numbers that felt manageable, that felt friendly enough for me to figure out what my original question was. And that's how doubling and halving works. All right, so mine's on. What do we need to know before we start? I just wanted to understand the specs of when you're looking at cars a little bit. So if we go to auto123.com, this is just one example of a online website that gives us the technical specifications of vehicles. Hopefully this is going to work for me today. I'm having technical issues, so it probably won't, just because that is my life. If I just type it in, auto123.com. Or not. Oh, there we go. Just need to be patient. I'm not feeling patient today. So here at auto123.com, we can pick any sort of vehicle and by price in order just to figure out the technical sheet. So you can go by the make. Let's go with Dodge, and let's say Grand Caravan. And then we search. And then we can even pick the year. So, because it's going to be different depending on the year. So let's pick 2020. That is the most recent one they have. And again, be patient. We all know the internet is sometimes not our friend. So what this is just going to tell us is things like engine size and here we go. So there's lots of various different things. So they tell you about what the engine is, the transmission. Some of these things might be useful. Really what I think is most useful is the fuel economy. So it's a matter of finding that, and they have changed this since. So here it tells us that it has a 75-liter fuel tank. So that tells us how big the tank is, which can be useful to know how much. And then it used to tell us the fuel economy, but now I'm not finding that. Oh, here we go. Mileage. So that is what's telling us. The mileage is telling us how much gas we get per 100 kilometers. So that's what it is in, and we'll talk more about this, but it tells us that it's 13.7 liters per kilometer in the city and 9.4 liters per kilometer on the highway as an estimate. And so that energy guide, it sort of tells us that this is how much it's going to generally take to drive this vehicle. And then if you're comparing to another vehicle, say you want to see which one is going to have a better fuel economy, then you could go to another one and then compare the same information and then find that out so that you can compare to see which is better. So you can just go through those technical sheets. It's really being slow today, so we're not going to spend more time doing that, but you can share that. I will share this on the notes on YouTube, and you can then just compare if you're looking for that information. Sorry that wasn't super smooth sailing. Okay, so what are we actually focusing on today? So car expenses. This is on page 3 of your IO booklet, because remember, we're now in unit 4. So everyone knows cars are expensive. Yes. In addition to the cost of actually buying a vehicle, there's the maintenance, insurance, and the average gas cost per year, which seems to continually increase. These are all going up generally. Some costs are monthly and others are yearly. So some costs to remember are insurance, registration, car payments, gasoline, oil, wiper fluid, oil changes with oil filters, air filters, tires, any replacement parts or repairs. These are all things that you need to be aware that you need to be paying. So just sort of to plan, it's a really good idea to sort of budget to think about how much you need to be saving a month for both your fixed expenses, things that you can expect that you're going to need to do an oil change 2 or 3 times a year, most likely, that you're going to maybe want to pay do your winter tires. So that's going to happen twice a year to change your tires, but it's a big investment. So maybe planning to have every month, putting some money away to save for that is going to help you. You know that you're going to have gas. How much do you kind of a month do you need to be planning for that? So in this example, we're going to say the following are car expenses that Zia experienced for 1 year. So Zia will say tracked all of her costs for the year, and then wants to, for the next year, sort of plan a monthly cost that she's going to be saving to budget. So what was her average monthly cost? So with this, we have to think about this question. We're going to look at our costs and see if there's anything that has monthly or yearly, or what is it we need to be paying attention to, because sometimes how that information is tracked. So if we need to think about how much it is per 1 year, and then we're going to divide it by 12 to figure out how much per month Zia should be saving. So we have $130.74 for oil changes. So that's a total that happened throughout the year, probably more than one oil change. $30,468 in yearly gas. So that is already in yearly. $35 to buy wiper fluid. So that one bunch of jars, bottles of wiper fluid. Okay. $22 for an air filter. Okay. That was once per year. Insurance is $1,554 insurance. So that would be a yearly insurance, because it doesn't say that it's monthly, and that would be a lot per month. And $4,472 in car payments. Again, that would be a yearly. So all of these are already in yearly amounts. So that means that we just need to add them up. So we just add them up. We're going to do this on our Desmos. So we have 130 and 74 plus, it's not a 4, 74 plus 3,468. So if all of our numbers are already a yearly amount, how much, Zia's already said that this is how much she spends per year. So we're just going to add them all up. 1,554 for insurance and 4,472 for car payments. Okay, so that is a total of $9,681.74. 9681.74. So to figure out the monthly cost or the monthly average, sorry, spell that right. We're going to do our total cost, which is $9,681.74, and divide it by 12 to get a monthly average. So this is not saying that you're going to be spending this exact amount every month, but roughly around $806.81. So if Zia saves $806.81 a month, then she'll be able to cover her yearly costs overall for her vehicle. So Zia's average monthly costs. Sorry, I'm having a hard time spelling today. It happened. Is $806.81. Some months she's probably going to spend more than that, but if she saves that every month, some months she's going to spend less than that, and so then she'll have enough money for the months that she needs to spend more. Suppose Zia drove 43,079 kilometers in that 1 year. How much did it cost her per kilometer? So for this type of question, we are comparing year to year. So remember, how much did it cost? How much did Zia spend per year? So her total cost per year was, I don't remember. Let's look it up. Her total cost was this number here, $9,681.74. So that's how much she spent per year. So to figure out how much she cost per kilometer, this is saying dollars per kilometer, right? This is kind of like unit price. So we're going to do 96,081.74 divided by 43,000 kilometers and 79 kilometers. So if we use our Desmos to do that, so we're not using the monthly amount, right? We're talking about, these are the total kilometers per year. So we're talking about the total cost per year. So that equals 22 cents per kilometer. So for every kilometer Zia drove, it cost her about 22 cents. So it's just really important for this type of question that you make sure that you're using the yearly amounts because you're comparing year to year. All right, so now you can do the support questions on page 6 questions 1 through 4 on page 4 through 6. Sorry, again, my brain isn't great today. All right, fuel efficiency. So with this on page 6 of your IL booklet, at the very basic level, so the simplest understanding about fuel efficiency, it refers to the distance you can travel on an amount of fuel. So how much fuel it takes you to travel a certain distance. So then what qualifies as fuel efficient? Because this is generally, we want to know that we can drive more kilometers on less fuel. That is ideal, as that 1, costs us less money, and 2, means that we are burning less fossil fuels and putting less emissions into the atmosphere and the environment, which is what we want to do. So anything that is listed as less than 6 liters per 100 kilometers or more than 16.5 kilometers per 1 liter is considered to be pretty good. Generally, usually like we looked at those tech specs, and usually fuel economy is listed in liters per 100 kilometers. But just to know that the more kilometers per liter is also, if it shows up like that, that means the same thing. So generally the lower number of liters stated, the better the fuel economy. So less liters is better because you're going farther. In fuel efficiency measurements, because this can come up if you're looking at it at different places. In Canada, we generally use liters per 100 kilometers. This is what makes the most sense. In the US, they use miles per gallon as they use imperial measurements. So often miles per gallon will come up if you're looking on the internet, and you can convert it, or you can use an online converter to figure what that means in liters per 100 kilometers, which is what makes sense in Canada. Okay, so let's look at what this actually means. So if we're comparing two cars, we have car A and car B. Who knows what they're similar cars. And for this individual or family, they yearly driving an average of 14,750 kilometers. So either car, that's how far they're going to drive roughly. So the fuel economy or the fuel efficiency for car A is the 4 liters per 100 kilometers, which is like that mileage that we looked up on the tech sheets. So for every 100 kilometers, the car uses 4 liters. In car B, their fuel economy is slightly different. The engine's built different. I don't know the mechanics of how it works, but I understand that some cars use more gas to go the same distance. And it's 5 liters per 100 kilometers. So it's only 1 liter difference in terms of looking at your fuel economy. That doesn't feel like very much, right? So the liters required for to travel this distance per year. So for car A, it's 590 liters because for every 100 kilometers, you do 4 liters. For car B, it's 737 liters. So for the same reason, for every 100 kilometers, you use 5 liters. So when you start looking at the total number of liters, that's a lot of difference. Just was one difference in terms of the fuel economy, but in terms of how much liters of gas you actually go through, it's over $150 or 150 liters more for car B, which if we convert that into actual costs per year of gas, and I calculated this at a low rate of $1.25 per liter, which is not where gas is right now because this constantly changes. But if gas was cheapish at $1.25 per liter, this would be for car A, you'd spend $737.50 per year on gas, and for car B, you'd spend $921.25 per gas, just because your vehicle doesn't, because it has 1 more liter, the fuel economy is 1 more liter. So even with a 1 liter difference in fuel efficiency, the owner of car B will need another 147 liters of fuel and spend an extra $183.75 than the owner of car A. All that from 1 extra liter per kilometer. So you can see that really does make a difference. Your fuel economy really does make a difference in terms of the amount of fuel that you're using and the amount of money that you're spending, because that over years is going to add up. And that's if gas is cheap. Right now, that gas is not that cheap. So it would be even more. So here is another way that you might be able to find your fuel consumption, your fuel efficiency, fuel economy. These are all language that you need to recognize. When is the energy guide. So we looked it up online and we saw it just listed, but this also, when you are buying a vehicle, this sort of tag might be on your vehicle and might tell you. So it says your fuel consumption is how much fuel your fuel economy, how much you're actually going to be driving or burning through when you're driving. There's two pieces. There is if you are in the city, which means that you and city is, so being in town also would make sense. Isn't about the size, but you're stopping and going a lot. You're not driving really fast and you're stopping and going, which burns fuel differently than if you're just driving at a constant rate. So in a city for this vehicle, it's 10.7 liters per 100 kilometers in the city. On the highway, if you are driving just at a constant, reasonable speed, then it's 7.4 liters per 100 kilometers. So driving at a consistent speed, you have better fuel economy than in the city. But of course, most of us live in both. We have to do both consistently. So they gave you this bigger number where it's combined. So they average it together to give you a rough general idea. So you have one number to deal with. They also give you the miles per gallon, which we're not going to think about, but just so you know that that information is there, why there's these two numbers. Sorry, this. Okay. Then they also give you an annual fuel cost. Now, of course, this is a complete guess. Sorry, my computer hates me today. Okay, so because it's saying, it tells you for an annual distance of 20,000 kilometers, who knows if this is realistic? Is this actually how much you drive, or do you drive a lot more? Do you drive a lot less? And at an average fuel price of $1.09 per liter, which is about $1 cheaper than it can be here in Sioux Lookout. And I don't even know the costs of what of gas is in northern communities. So this is just doesn't really give you an actual information, like right, what's realistic for, because it's based on averages, but that's also like based on averages over the country. And that's going to be really different depending on your situation. So then they give you some other information in terms of your carbon dioxide rating and your smog rating. They give you some indicators. This is if you're interested in, but this is only in terms of what you're actually emitting while you're driving, not about what the costs were that put into it. So this is more information you could look up if you were interested. But this fuel consumption is really what we're looking for. So how do we figure that out for ourselves? Because like we know, we just looked at that average and it doesn't give you something that is really useful. So first we need to figure out how much gas we are going to consume to drive a certain distance. So if this is the fuel consumption, so we're going to need to figure out two things for this. We're going to figure out fuel consumption, how much fuel we actually use, and the fuel cost, how much we have to spend on fuel. For example 2, it says how many liters of gas are needed for a Ford F-150 to travel 637 kilometers when it gets 15.4 liters per 100 kilometers. So we're only looking at how much gas is going to be needed for this particular question. So how we do that is we take our kilometers, 637 kilometers, and we times it by our fuel economy, 15.4 liters per 100 kilometers. So this is key because we're going to be dividing by 100. We don't just multiply it by 15.4. We have to divide it by 100. We can do 15.4 divided by 100 first, or we can do the multiplication first. Either way is fine, but it's just really key that you can't, it's per 100 kilometers, which means that we need to divide it by 100. So we're going to do 637 times 15.4 divided by 100, and that gives us 98.098, so 98.1 liters. So that's how many liters. So 98.1 liters is how much gas a Ford F-150 would need to travel 637 kilometers. Okay, so in this example, how many more liters does a Subaru Impreza use to travel 30 kilometers in the city, where it's 8.3 liters per 100 kilometers, compared to on the highway, where it's 6.4 liters per 100 kilometers. So we're going to have to do this same thing twice. So we're going to do it in the city to compare. So if we're in the city, we're doing 30 kilometers times 8.3 liters per 100 kilometers. This means that we're stopping and going a lot, but we're still traveling that 30 kilometers. So 30 times 8.3 divided by 100 is 2.49. So it costs, or it is 2.49 liters, whereas on the highway, it is 30 kilometers. If you're driving 30 kilometers, it's going to be 6.4 liters per 100 kilometers. So the vehicle is going to use how many liters? 30 times 6.4 divided by 100 equals 19.2. I feel like so I'm looking at these, I'm like, okay, wait a second. Why did I use 19.2 liters and 2.4 liters? I've made a mistake somewhere. Those numbers don't make sense. In this one, I can see it's just 64 instead of 6.4. So it should be, I can put that decimal back in with Desmos, or I can go back and fix it. But my numbers didn't make sense. Mistakes happen. So I needed to look and see if that didn't make sense. So it should be 1.92. So when you are doing these questions, it is totally fine to make mistakes. Mistakes totally happen. But I need to look at them and say, okay, to me, I was expecting my highways to be less gas, to be less liters, because my fuel economy is better. I drive farther on less liters. So when I got 19.2, that told me that was way more than the city driving. That told me that I'd made a mistake somewhere in my calculation. So you really need to use your logical brain to figure out how much to make sure that you're getting the right answer. Don't just trust your calculator. Don't just trust the numbers. Use your brain. Have I answered the question? How many more liters does a Subaru Impreza use? No, I need to figure out that I need to compare them. So how many more? And so I need to do 2.49, take away 1.92. So we're going to subtract those to figure out what the actual difference is. We need to make sure that we're actually answering the question. So 0.56, sorry, 0.57. So it uses 0.57 more liters in the city to drive the same distance. So make sure you're actually answering the question. Okay, so now you can do the support question on page 8, question number 5. Now we need to figure out the cost of fuel. So we know this is on page 8 of your IEL booklet, though the cost of fuel consistently has gone up. So what is in your book isn't necessarily, fuel changes every day, every week. You can go, we can click and you can go into online, you can find various places to like figure out what it actually is. This is one thing where we can see from February 2022 to May 2022, it went up from 1.78 to 2.32. That constantly fluxes. It's constantly changing. I never know how much gas costs. We don't have a ton of time, so we're not going to go into that. Just look at that. You can look at that if you're interested, if you want to spend time there. But instead, we're just going to practice calculations. So calculate how much it would cost to fill up a 56.4 liter gas tank when gas costs $2.10. So we know we're imagining that the gas tank is completely empty. You rode into the gas station on fumes. So we know that we have 56.4 liters is how much gas we're going to be putting into the tank. And we're going to times it by $2.10 per liter. So here we are just multiplying those two numbers together. So the individual parts are not too tricky. It's when we have to combine things, that things get a little bit more tricky. So that's $118.44. And this is how, when you're pumping up gas, this is how that number, how you arrived at that number of how much you have to pay for that amount of gas. Calculate how much it would cost to drive 1,530 kilometers in a vehicle with fuel economy of 7.4 liters per 100 kilometers when gas costs $1.96 per liter. So this is when it starts to get tricky, because this is when we have to do both those things we've done in the past and combine them together. And this is really where we're going to be spending the most time in the future when we're doing the other things. When we're using this information, we're going to be using this double step. So we need to do it in 2 steps. So first, we need to figure out fuel consumption. How much fuel did we actually use? And then fuel cost. How much does the amount of fuel that we used, how much did that cost us? Because right now we don't know how much fuel we use, so we can't figure out how much we have to fill up our tank for, because we need to figure out how much we're going to need to consume. So fuel consumption is the calculation where we do 1,530, how far we're driving, times how many liters our vehicle uses per 100 kilometers. So we're going to do that on our calculator. So we have 1,530 times our fuel consumption of 7.4 liters per 100 kilometers. And I get 113.22 liters. So our vehicle to travel the 1,530 kilometers is going to use 113.22 liters of gas, of fuel. So to figure how much that actually is going to cost, we take that number of liters is what we need to know. So we have that 113.22 liters. That's how much gas we actually need. And we times it by how much it costs us per liter of gas. So $1.96 per liter. So then we can calculate that. $1.96 times our fuel equals $221.91. So that's how much to drive 1,530 kilometers is going to cost $221.96. So now you can do the support questions on page 8 through 9, questions 6 through 7. So then how it all wraps up together. So let's do where we're combining all the questions that we've talked about so far. The following are car expenses that Benny had in 1 year. What was his total yearly cost and his average monthly cost? So he had 3 oil changes in 1 year. So $69.99 per oil change, and there were 3 per year. He had $426.15 of monthly gas. He spent $26.50 on wiper fluid. He had a $30 air filter. He had a monthly insurance of $135 per month, and $127.34 biweekly car payment. So these are all in different amounts. We need to figure out what they are per year. So the oil changes, we had 3, so we need to times that by 3. The monthly gas, we need to times that by 12. The wiper fluid was once, the air filter was once, the monthly insurance, we need to times that by 12. And the biweekly car payments, we need to times by 26, because there's 26 every 2 weeks. So it's 26 per year. Okay, so $69.99 times 3 is $209.97. So that's how much in the year the oil changes were. Monthly gas was $426.15 times 12 is $5,113.80. The monthly insurance was $135 times 12, which is $1,620. And the biweekly car payments were $172.34 times 26, which is equal to $4,480.84. $4,480. So these ones were just times 1. We only did it once, so we're just writing them out again so that I have all my numbers lined up. So then that we need to add up together all of those numbers to figure out our yearly cost. So sometimes you have multiple steps that you need to figure out what it is that you need to do and how often something happens. And if we're trying to figure it out per year, I've been multiplying and I need to be adding. Luckily, I caught that. I would have gotten a really not pleasant number at the end. So see, your calculator just does what you tell it to do. So if your brain is not on point, it's just going to trust you. So that added up together, because I did add them up together, is $11,481.11. So that is the yearly cost. So monthly, we're going to divide it by 12. And we get $956.76. So that's the monthly cost for Benny. All right, so last example, Cat needs new winter tires. How much will the winter tires cost, including HST? So remember, HST in Ontario is always 13%. So here's the ad, says $49.95 per tire. So Cat's going to need 4 tires, $49.95 times 4. And then we're going to times it by 1.13, because remember, when we times it by 1.13, that gives us not just the tax, but also adds in the original price. So we're going to do 49.95 times 4. And then we're going to times that by 1.13. And that gives us a total of $225.77. So that's how much it would cost for 4 tires, including HST. So how much are these tires per month if they keep them on for 4 years? So we're going to take that full amount and divide it by 48, because there are 48 months per year. Sorry, there's 40 months per 4 years, 12 times 4. So then that's $4.70 per month. How much are the tires per kilometer if they drive a total of 30,246 kilometers in the 4 winters? So we're going to do our total kilometers. And because we want to do it, we know that it cost us in total $225.77. We are using the total amount, not the monthly amount. So we're using total kilometers divided by the total amount. So $30,246 divided by 225.77. Miss a decimal place in there. Gives us 133.97. So it is $133.96 per kilometer. That doesn't feel right. I've done something wrong. Oh, this is kilometers per dollar. Sorry. Which is that what I wanted to know? How much are the tires per kilometer? No, I did it backwards. So again, that number didn't make any sense. So I've realized that I've done something backwards. Try that again. So because I want cost per kilometer, so I need to do 225.77 divided by 3,246 kilometers. So it's really easy to do it backwards. And again, looking at what your numbers mean tells you what, if you're made a mistake or not. So it is 0.007 cents. So it is less than 1 cent per kilometer for each of those tires for the 4 winters. Okay, let's quickly consolidate. So we talked about the general use of gas, maintenance, repairs, insurance, and we have both monthly and yearly costs. We talked about fuel efficiency and how it's liters per kilometer, how the lower number of kilometers, or sorry, the lower number of liters is the more efficient. We talked about cost of fuel and how the dollars per liter is what we need, and we need the fuel consumption and then the fuel cost in order to understand how to actually calculate this. So hopefully you know the various costs involved in owning a vehicle, and you can calculate the fuel consumption and gas costs. All right, as always, if you have any questions or concerns, you need any help with any of what we've done today, please feel to reach out and contact me. My number is 807-737-1488, extension 2209. Call me toll free at 1-800-667-3703. You can email me at bronwyn.slate, and that's spelled BRONWYN.SLATE@nnec.on.ca, as well as connect with me through Facebook at bslate Wahsa, or YouTube, where this will go up and you can review it if you'd like, at also bslate Wahsa. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you have a lovely day. Miigwech.